Tiffany, I missed the beginning of your last comment, but I'm seeing 1 o'clock right now. Should we allow another minute or two before we get started, do you think, or should we go ahead and kick this thing off?
With our deck's approval, if you would like to wait a minute or two, we can. That I think is allowable and
Okay.
whatever you would prefer.
Why don't we wait till 2 minutes after the hour, just to make sure that we have as many attendees as possible, and we'll get started very shortly. All right, well, it's now 2 minutes after the hour. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order and thank all of our attendees for making time for our second and final Language Access Plan workshop. And the purpose of this public comment workshop is to solicit feedback on the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange's proposed language access plan that has been drafted in compliance with Senate Bill 318, which was signed into law during the 2021 Nevada legislative session. This law requires that all state agencies create a language access plan, or an LAP, to improve access to government services, programs, and information for Nevadans with limited English proficiency. This plan also complies with NRS 232.0081. Within SB 318 and the NRS, each agency of the executive department shall solicit public comment concerning the language access plan. And that is indeed the purpose of this workshop, as well as the previous workshop held last month. There will be plenty of opportunity for public comment, but I did want to clarify that because we have a mix of attendees on the phone as well as attendees meeting through Teams who may have video capabilities, we're going to start, as we did last time, with our telephone-only attendees, and then we will move on to our video attendees through the Teams app or the Teams website. Now, it's my understanding, and I wanted to confirm from Tiffany, that there were no comments received via email between the first workshop and the second workshop. In other words, I think in total, we've received no written comments to date. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I confirmed with Caitlin that she has received no written comments via email for this
Okay.
specific topic.
Wonderful. Well, I wanted to cover some basic guidelines regarding public comment. I will indicate when live public comment will be taking. All persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating and spelling their name for the record. Public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per speaker and limited to the topic presented on this agenda. Those considerations are intended to keep a lid on the total amount of time allowed for the workshop based upon the number of attendees that I'm seeing and based upon the fact that we've scheduled 2 hours for this workshop. I don't think that will be a problem, but we did want to caution everyone in advance that we may have to limit your time to 3 minutes if necessary. And for the same reason, we might also have to limit your comments to the topic being presented on this agenda. though if you wish to raise a question and you're not 100% sure if it is directly relevant to this agenda, we would ask you to please err on the side of caution. Go ahead and raise your question. And if it's something that we believe is not a good fit for this agenda, we will be happy to circle back with you after the fact, perhaps by providing an email response. Did want to mention also that the viewpoint of a speaker will not be restricted, but these reasonable restrictions that I mentioned a moment ago may be imposed upon the time, place, and manner of speech. Irrelevant and unduly repetitious statements, as well as personal attacks that antagonize or incite others, are examples of public comments that may be reasonably limited under the applicable regulations. So with that, I would like to open up the phone lines for public comment. Any individuals who are on the phone only and not attending through the Teams app or through the Teams website can now unmute themselves. If you are on mute, you can press *6 to unmute yourselves on Teams, and you can go ahead and jump in. If there are multiple individuals who are trying to speak at the same time, I will attempt to identify each of these individuals so that we can establish an order and go through those comments one at a time. So at this time, please feel free to unmute yourself and jump in if you are attending the meeting by phone and if you have a comment that you'd like to share. All right, I believe that would be ample time, but just in case there's anyone who's trying to get off mute, we will circle back after we solicit commentary through the Teams channel, through the Teams app rather, in the website. I will circle back afterwards to see if we have any additional comments via phone. But at this time, I'd like to transition to comments via the Teams app. You're welcome to put yourself on video if you like. That is absolutely not a requirement, but I do want to remind you to please start by stating and then spelling your name. And I believe the way we were doing this last time, and it worked really well, Tiffany, was to have individuals raise their hand. That way the Teams app will automatically assign a number to you in the order in which you raise your hand. So please, come one, come all, go ahead and raise your hands, and we will work our way through each of the attendees with a comment in the order that's identified by the Teams app. So please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand right now if you have a comment you'd like to share. I'm going to allow just a few more seconds. I know we had a few attendees joining us recently. Just want to quickly recap because it's looking like this may be a short workshop here. If you would like to provide a public comment, please begin by stating and spelling your name for the record. We may need to limit your comment to 3 minutes per speaker, but it's looking like we've got plenty of time to go around for everyone. So I'll make one last call for those folks joining on the Teams app or through the website. I'll circle back again on the telephones in just a moment. Looks like we've still got some folks trickling in. So absent any other interest in public comment, I know we had a few attendees join just in the last few minutes, wanted to extend the invitation to provide public comment at this time. If you'd like to do so, please raise your hand if you're using the Teams app. If you're on the telephone, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know that you'd like to provide a comment. Well, not a lot of takers today, Tiffany. So I'm going to just check one last time before moving on to agenda item number 2, which will be adjournment. If there are any folks who joined us late, whether you joined on the telephone or whether you joined through the website or through the Teams app, if you would like to provide public comment on the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange's proposed language access plan, please do so right now. If you're on the phone, you can just go ahead and speak up and start by sharing your name and spelling your name. If you're on the Teams app, you can just raise your hand. We'll call on you momentarily. All right, everyone. Oh, we do have a hand raised. Okay,
Yes.
let me see here. Okay, wonderful. Mary Lou, please go ahead. And it looks like we've got your name as well as the spelling there. So if you could just please state your name for the record, we can grab the spelling unless it is spelled incorrectly.
No,
based on
it's
your
Mary Lou Urrutia. I'm at Nevada Silver Life and Health, and we do
Okay.
a lot of Spanish speaking. So what I just wanted to know, because one comment that I get from my people, and it depends if they're first generation or there might be kids, and they do a lot in Spanish, but they know English. And then I go, well, do you want your stuff sent to you in Spanish or can you do English? And quite a few of them say, well, I can understand English. I'd rather have it that way. Because a lot of times when it comes over in Spanish, it's not quite to their language, like Spanish to Mexican to El Salvadorian. It all tends to be a little different. And they would prefer to see that in English because it's easier for them to understand. I don't know if you've heard any of those comments.
Regional dialects are one of the trickiest problems that we've been working
Yeah.
through in recent years, and I think that's an excellent question, and we're very sympathetic to those interests and to those needs. Did want to mention upfront that each of the users of our platform, and this is true also for stakeholder groups such as enrollment professionals, can establish a language presence for themselves and for their household. And when I mention enrollment professionals, I mean enrollment professionals can set these preferences on behalf of their enrollees. There are some limitations in terms of Spanish language website content available to enrollment professionals. But as far as consumer-facing content is concerned, 100% of our website content through the user portal is currently available in English and Spanish. And the version of the website that is presented to the user depends directly upon the language preference that is set in the household preferences. At present, just to summarize, as far as interaction with the website is concerned, any user who wishes can retain the default English language preference, but they can, of course, choose to implement the Spanish language preference. That will ensure that each of the web pages they see, including the application pages, including the plan selection pages, are going to be displayed to them in Spanish as well. But as you pointed out, and this is an issue that we take very seriously, and that we understand just imposes some constraints and limitations on our ability to provide specifically tailored regional dialects, we did have to come up with our best approximation of a standardized dialect in the Spanish language. We do work with a vendor who does translation services for us. We then run those translations by a number of different stakeholder groups, including internal staff, as well as external stakeholders. So we do our best to try and find a one-size-fits-all solution, but we do understand full well that there are limitations to our ability to do so. So anyone who wishes can elect an English language preference, and that will impact not only the content that they see through our website, but also the content of the notices and the forms that may be sent to them through the mail or to the secure inbox, which will result in an email notification. I did want to mention, and I know this is maybe a little bit different than the question that you were asking, which was about the availability to establish an English language preference. But I did want to mention that we have been working very hard in recent months to translate all of the notice content that I mentioned a moment ago. So these would be the eligibility notices, in notices related to tax forms, including the IRS Form 1095-A. Every single notification that's generated by our platform will be available in Spanish as well as English in June of this year. We're targeting the third week of June for that deployment. So again, I know that's a little bit maybe the opposite of what you were asking about, but just wanted to mention for any other stakeholders who may be listening on the phone, and this is independent and irrespective of our language access plan. It's an initiative we've been working on for months now. 100% of website content, whether it's the website pages themselves or whether it's notifications that are generated by the platform, whether they're electronic or whether they come through the mail, will be available in both English and Spanish before the end of June. So I know that's more than you asked for, Mary Lou, but I hope that at least answers your question. And if that raised any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain those right now.
No, that was great. And I have to say, when I have had to get a translator online, when we're dealing with the application, there hasn't been any issue or anything. They've been able to talk to them, communicate, whatever, sometimes use a third-party vendor to come online if there's not a person at the call center that can speak Spanish. They've come online and they've been great. The clients have totally been able to ask questions, get them answered, and it's worked very well. So.
Well, Thank you for the feedback, Mary Lou. That's wonderful feedback. And you may be aware of this already, but I just wanted to mention again, if there are any stakeholders who might not be aware who are on the phone lines, that our call center does have integration with a TTY third-party translation service, and they are able to provide a finer grained translation between English and Spanish for individuals who may have a kind of a regional dialect and may have trouble with our typical translation, which is mostly targeted at Mexican Americans with that kind of Mexican Spanish background. Did want to mention also that TTY can be effective for Europeans who speak Spanish. So literally from the country of Spain, in Europe, individuals who speak that version of the Spanish dialect sometimes have trouble communicating with the native Spanish speakers in our call center, of which we try to ensure that we have at least a couple on staff every single day during business hours. But that TTY is another good option, not just for different regional dialects of Spanish, but I believe there are over 38 languages that we offer support for through that TTY. At present, I want to clarify the website as well as all of the printed notices that come out of our platform are only available in English, and we will have full Spanish support by the end of June. We do not have plans at the moment to translate that content into other languages besides English and Spanish. It's just a very heavy lift. It's a significant expense, and we don't think that we have the numbers of users who would require those languages to be presented in their native language to justify that expense of public funds at this point. But that is part of what these language access plan workshops were designed to elicit. If there are stakeholder groups out there who believe that it would be worth our investment to make the website content itself, as well as our notices, available in additional languages, those are completely valid and in fact much appreciated comments. We have another attendee, and Mary Lou, before I move on, I just want to make sure we've addressed all of your questions and concerns to your satisfaction.
You did. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join the meeting today, and we thank you again for the feedback. I wanted to move on next to Heidi Sterner. If you could please, because sometimes we get attendees who don't match up to the name that's displayed to us. If you could please just confirm for the record that is who we're speaking to, we'd be grateful, and then you can proceed with your comments or questions.
Yes, this is Heidi Sterner. My question is that, and I love that you guys are going through this, and not just you guys, but all of the state agencies. It's just, we've missed the boat on this for the past several years, especially for the Spanish population. So the Spanish speaking population, my question is, once you guys are all set and you have everything that you're going to be doing translated into whatever you're translating it into, are you going to further require that the insurance companies that utilize the exchange have all of their documentation that is sent out in the appropriate languages as well?
That's an excellent question, and that is not in our plans at present. We do have, just for clarification, an annual, we call it an issuer agreement. It's a contractual relationship that insurance carriers are required to sign with us each year. And there are no provisions at present in that agreement that would require a comparable level of access between English and Spanish language materials versus what we have available right now and what we will be rolling out in the month of June available. I did want to pause though, because our Deputy Attorney General Radhika had raised her hand, and I'm guessing that this is likely relevant to the information I'm providing. So before I get myself in any hot water, I want to stop and give Radhika a moment to share her feedback.
Thank you, Yadira Cook. I just wanted to maybe do a gentle nudge or a reminder to all the speakers that this is a forum for public comment, in the sense that if anybody trying to package their question for the agency to collect the comments and then apply those to the future policy making or what have you, and keep within the context of the noticed agenda, that would be extremely helpful. Just a gentle, humble reminder. I know some of your questions are very relevant and can actually be packaged as public comments to help for developing this policy and just formatting it. Thank you.
And I can definitely rephrase that as a comment. It would be great if you could have the carriers have everything translated into the other languages as well. Thank you.
I think that's an
Perfect.
excellent proposed
Understood the
comment.
assignment, as I said. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you changing gears and code switching, as it were, Heidi. That comment is well received, and we really appreciate the suggestion. Anything else along those lines that you wanted to share? I mean, I think that's an excellent suggestion. We really just wanted to clarify that because the language access plan is kind of a new initiative. Certainly, it's a few years old in statute, and certainly we had a language access plan in place, but we are considering this to be an ongoing kind of a work in progress. If it wasn't clear from the agenda materials, we are going to be reviewing and potentially revising the language access plan each year moving forward. So we will take those comments into consideration and see what the potential is to work those suggestions into our language access plan prior to presentation to our board of directors in June at our June board meeting. So just wanted to, before we move on, Heidi, did it sound like we're understanding your suggestion? Did you have anything else to add to that you'd like us to incorporate into
you've
feedback?
covered it. Thank you very much. I know that all the agencies are doing this, including the Division of Insurance. So it's been brought up to them as well about, it's great that we can sell to this population, but if they can't understand the documents when they get them home and they get them in the mail later, what's the point?
I think that's an astute suggestion, and you mentioned the Division of Insurance. I'm glad you did, because they are key stakeholders, and they're a key partner agency with the exchange in the state of Nevada. So I think that a good way for us to proceed would be to bring this up. We have monthly meetings with the Division of Insurance, and I would love to propose this to them. I think that initiatives like this are best approached in lockstep across multiple agencies who may be serving the same stakeholder groups. So in addition to discussing internally with our policy team and perhaps incorporating that into our language access plan, perhaps eventually incorporating that requirement into our annual issuer agreement, I would love to discuss that with the DOI and see if we can find a solution that applies perhaps equally to the individual market, the off-exchange market, as well as the on-exchange market.
And group and everywhere else.
Certainly, yeah.
But yes, I get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm sure the DOI would have reminded me of that as well. So again, really appreciate the participation, Heidi, and the feedback is very well taken. Thank you. All right, any other attendees? And this is fantastic, by the way. Really appreciate the dialogue. This is precisely the reason why we wanted to have these workshops. So wanted to open up the floor to any other attendees who wish to share some public comment. Please raise your hand if you're on the Teams app. Otherwise, if you're just on the phone, you're welcome to unmute yourself. Again, that is *6. If you have yourself on mute right now, *6 will unmute you. You can go ahead and speak up and share your comment with us at this time. All right. Well, I think we have reached that point in the agenda where I am going to adjourn the meeting, but I wanted to thank you so much. Heidi and Mary Lou, I know we didn't spend a lot of time on your comments, but they were invaluable and made this whole workshop worthwhile today. So I want to thank all of our attendees. And if any questions do come up in the future, you haven't missed the boat entirely. We do still have an email address posted on our website on the meeting notice for today, concurrent with the meeting agenda and referencing specifically the current version of our language access plan. So if in fact you would like to provide comments, we will take them at any point in time. However, I just wanted to mention that the comments that we received during this workshop, as well as last month's workshop, will be considered and incorporated into a revised language access plan, which will be presented to our board of directors for review in our June board meeting. And Tiffany, can you remind me that date? Was that June 14th?
June 18th.
June 18th. Okay, so, and that's a Tuesday, right? Tuesday, June 18th. Will be our next board meeting. And although the draft of the proposed revised language access plan will have been completed as of that date, there will be opportunities during that meeting, as there always are at our board meetings, for public comment, both before the agenda items as well as at the conclusion of the meeting after the agenda items have been completed. So we do look forward to speaking with all of you again, particularly if you have some comments or feedback that you'd like to share during the next board meeting. But I am going to be adjourning this meeting with our sincere thanks for the time that you shared today and for all the wonderful feedback. Particularly Mary Lou and Heidi, want to thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. That is extremely helpful in terms of calibrating our meter and ensuring that we are reaching our desired population, our stakeholder groups in the manner that they desire. So I am now going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks especially to Radhika for the feedback and the coaching there. Thank you very much, everyone. These workshops have been very successful, and again, we are very grateful for your time. Take care, everyone.